yo voy a ser un poquitito más formal que Iván, porque no me sale un discurso tan bueno, tan original y tan sentido como el de Iván. También comienzo en castellano y luego, a pedido del señor director, siguiendo el orden, voy a volcarme al inglés. Primero quiero empezar por agradecer la presencia de todos ustedes, que no solamente celebran el Día de la Fundación de San Andrés, sino también nos honran a Iván y a mí por su presencia. Y aquí voy especialmente a los alumnos, a los educadores y al personal de San Andrés, a los padres de alumnos, a los miembros de la comisión directiva de ACESA, las autoridades municipales y representantes de otros países y representantes de las autoridades provinciales, presencia de directivos de las otras escuelas. Todo eso es una honra para San Andrés recibirlos y me tomo la libertad de agradecer su presencia. También quiero decirles que estoy muy honrado, lo estuve antes de escucharlo Iván y más todavía ahora, de compartir esta distinción en este año muy especial para la comunidad de San Andrés. 175 años de colegio, 25 años de la universidad, con un poco de contabilidad creativa son 200 años de historia. Y entonces ahora sí voy a pasar al inglés y voy a dirigirme especialmente a los alumnos, porque ellos son el futuro para la nación y para la escuela. Dear pupils, please bear with me a little while. I'm going to say many of the things that have been said by different speakers before, but I just hope that I have enough of a difference of viewpoint to make it bearable. I was, of course, aware that my name had been proposed for this distinction, this award, because the people behind the proposal had very properly asked my permission to put my name forward. All these sponsors were from my classmates from the class of '59. And I'm sure you can understand how grateful and how warm I felt to have a group of people who I see perhaps once a year on average, most of them anyway, who felt sufficiently moved as to spend time and effort in getting up a proposal, because a proposal is not just simply putting down somebody's name. You have to work with it to make it fine. And that would have been award enough for me, just to know that my colleagues from school had felt this was sufficiently important for them to get involved, was more than anything I could have expected. And I hope that all of you, when you leave school, will do so with the security of these links you have forged during your time in school, and that in future these links will come back to you and help you. The school, more or less recently, has started several initiatives to help link former pupils together and to help link former pupils with the school. I do hope you will be able to take advantage of these opportunities. For my part, I want to thank the people who proposed me, my colleagues of the 1959 cohort, for having done so. So I've just said I didn't know what happened afterwards. I knew my name was put forward, but I didn't know what happened afterwards. After the award was announced, I found out that a group of people had sponsored this award. That is, some people proposed and then it needs the backing of others who actually sponsor and provide references. And these people included the founding rector of the Universidad de San Andrés, a professor from the Universidad de San Andrés, 3 ex-members of the Board of Governors of St. Andrews, and the director of the institute, the research institute where I work. I had and I still have doubts whether I really merit this award. But I must say that when I found out who had actually sponsored the proposal, I felt extremely moved, extremely grateful, and extremely humble. These are all people who I respect very much and whose opinion I value enormously. And that they should have taken the trouble to sit down and write something about me, which convinced the jury, obviously, is something I find profoundly moving, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank them publicly. The citation for this award highlights on the one hand, my career in research and teaching, and on the other hand, my involvement with the St. Andrews community. The roots of both these dimensions are here, St. Andrews. During my time at St. Andrews, I had the enormous good fortune to have masters in mathematics, physics, chemistry, and believe it or not, history. Maybe the history was the most important component of the lot. Who taught me to enjoy trying to understand the nature of things and how they worked and how one could find out about this, and how to express myself and how to argue with strength and clarity. Later on, other people took on the job of mentoring my career, but the initial mentors were from here. Gerardo Muniero, in the Founders' Day service on Sunday, told an anecdote about Steve Jobs of Macintosh fame. To the end that, it's important that creators should recognize their products, what they make. And this reminded me of something. I've been a Macintosh fan since 1985 when the first Mac came out. And it served me and later a colleague to whom I donated it for over 10 years without any trouble. And then it got old, like all of us, and it started to have trouble. And I was there when the technician took it apart to see whether he could do something with it. And I was surprised to find engraved on the inside of the case, lo esencial, lo importante es lo esencial que no se ve, I think Gerardo said. On the inside of the case, the signatures of all the team who created the Mac. And I just had to wonder what one would find if one could open one's brain box and see who signed the inside of the skull and helped us grow up. And I think this is something we need to think about. I've also been enormously fortunate in my career in research and administration. I've found tremendously interesting questions in which to do research. I've had wonderful undergraduate and graduate students with whom to work with, and I've had wonderful colleagues from Argentina and from abroad with whom to work with. This rewarding experience far outweighs the downsides of doing research, like reports you have to present, grant proposals you have to present, lack of money most of the time, and all sorts of other hassles. Equally, it's been, for me, a great experience as an administrator to contribute to the flourishing of the graduate school at the Facultad de Agronomía, Universidad de Buenos Aires, and to the maintaining the research institute at which I work on an even keel at the time when I was director. How, why I became, and to a certain extent continue to be involved in the St. Andrews community is another history. But like the previous one, it also has its roots here. I've been heavily involved in the boards, the various boards of St. Andrews, or close to the board of St. Andrews for the last 27 or 28 years. And the culprit of all that is here at hand, as none other than Billy Murchison. Stand up, Murchison. Billy, as he's told you, was a classmate of mine, and in 1985 he conscripted me against my better judgment to join the effort he was leading to create the Universidad de San Andrés. Billy was the one. Billy has a very bad habit of going around trying to suggest that I'm an important person, and sometimes even the important person in the creation of the Universidad de San Andrés. Just now the mic is mine, and I'm going to put my version of the story. Billy was the person who conceived the idea of the university, and he convinced several members of the board that his idea was good, and he set out to look for a team to help him build it, that team. And I think one of the important reasons why Billy was able to conscript me against my better judgment was that I felt I owed a debt to St. Andrews. In my last years at school, part of my fees were covered by a scholarship funded by Química Williams, and that scholarship was raised by Donald McGillivray. Donald McGillivray, maybe some of you know, was actually absolutely instrumental in Punta Chica, and we are here today thanks to Donald McGillivray. Also, my two children went through school, and in their years in secondary, both of them received some form of scholarship or help with the fees, which allowed them to complete their studies in St. Andrews. So I definitely had a debt with St. Andrews, and Billy was able to pull on that and get me involved. Getting the university up and running, as well as being a triumph of hope over experience, was very hard and demanding work. And here I want to pay special tribute to José Javier Martini. Javier, as some of us call him, did far more than I did in managing and organizing and structuring the university. And I think if he hadn't, in his misguided youth, gone to the wrong school, it would be, Javier would be up here now, not me. Creating and then actually getting moving an institution like the Universidad de San Andrés is a hugely complex process. And it's only successful if everybody on the team, at all levels, works towards a common goal with a common appreciation of the driving forces. And the same, of course, applies to St. Andrews School. And I'm indeed very honored to have been part of those teams for so many years. And for me, the payoff for this work has been the opportunity to get to know and to learn from a large number of wonderful people on the boards of both St. Andrews and the Universidad, and at the Universidad itself. And I'm truly grateful to Billy, in spite of his other bad habits, for having got me into this. And finally, a comment on St. Andrews and this award. The school has recently, from my perspective, not from yours, published a mission statement, which has undergone some changes, but basically the mission statement remains the same. And two elements of that are the school aims to graduate responsible citizens committed to serve Argentina, and the second, that pupils are taught to inquire deeply, work responsibly, and care for others, themselves, and the environment. And here I'm transposing from another part of the same mission statement, which I would like to see in a different place. In an atmosphere that fosters a joyful learning. I would like to suggest that the alumni awards, which in some way have come together today, Billy Murchison, Ivan Brea, Valeria, Etel Solo, and myself, I think, are a very good example that, with or without a mission statement, St. Andrews has been able, over at least 41 years, between 1959 and 2000, when Ivan and myself graduated, been able to get very close to those objectives. Maybe not touch the stars, but get close to it. And so I want to thank you very much. I want to wish you all the very best for your future.